What's going on? Anybody alive here?
Yo, Brett, how are you?
Hey Ben, good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, I can't remember whose call we were on previously.
Yeah, it was Nick's actually.
Oh, was it
Unfortunately.
last week? Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
up?
How are you?
Good.
good.
Thanks for your patience. Set
No
another call
worries.
that ran over.
I'm an owner.
How we doing? Good.
Yeah, I talking year off. I just had that too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. I started implementing what you mentioned about standards and breaking it down, and people are we literally no one's missed an EOD since I did that, which is
And did
really
they
like.
report?
Yeah, like they all did it on time.
Wow, dude.
I was very impressed actually.
Crazy, bro. Crazy.
It helped me also with QC because now like when they actually tell me like, hey, this lead, and I see like, hey, 8 conversations, but you only said two, like doesn't make sense. It's just so much faster. Boom, boom, boom. And I can get my pod leaders to help me also to QC. So yeah, it helped a lot. Thanks.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, dude, let's dive into it. What questions do we got?
Yeah, I got a question. So in terms of um what is your thought process or plan for helping reps to or motivate reps to want to work on the weekends and want to work like more? The thing that I implemented today was a bonus of like you get a bonus each week if you work on the weekends. But I'm curious like what you usually do to motivate reps to work on weekends.
Um, I mean, dude, ultimately it comes down to like their overall goal, right? And then that should be tied to their projection. And for me personally, like, dude, if I projected, I don't know, 60 sets and 15 deals in a month, for an example, and we're halfway through the month and I'm pacing 70 sets and 18 deals, dude, I'm not gonna work on the weekend, right? So I think like my question for you would be like, why does it matter? Are they behind pace? Are we not hitting our goals as a team?
Yeah, we're not right now. And we have our lead, our cost per call is a bit higher than we like it to. So we can't justify spending more on ads until that goes more down. So part of it is because there's not enough sets being set up.
So what's the goal and what are we hit? Like, what's the weekly target that we need to hit or the monthly target that we want to hit? And what are we pacing?
So we need to hit 100 sets per setter. We have 24 setters right now,
You know,
and
100 setters per month per setter.
100 sets per setter for the 15 closers that we have.
Got it. Okay. Where did that target come from specifically?
Um, it came from the veterans. One, like the ones
Where
that
the
are in there
veterans?
for a while, and two, just from like what we need in order to grow the company as well.
The setter veterans?
So the Feder veterans historical data of like what they've been able to actually hit, and then combining it with what we need to hit to grow the company. So real historically, we've done 1,200 each month, but we needed to grow it to 1,600 and then 2,000.
So you have 16 setters then.
Yeah, we had it. Yeah, we have 24 now though. Well, we have 24, but not everyone's doing like 100 sets.
Right. So you have hedge, really the target per setter on average is 75 now.
Yeah, because we doubled the team in the last 30 days. So half the team still needs to like catch up to that.
Okay. I mean, I think ultimately, dude, like again, you should have a baseline quota of a bare minimum, and the bare minimum should relate to the company's goals with like a little bit of hedge in it. And then individual projection should be based on the person's personal income goals. And as a manager, dude, like, what's your goal, Brett? What's your personal income goal, Brett?
30,000 a month,
30K. Why?
because it will help me to hit my goal of being able to have a million a month and generated in accounts. So I want the resume builder, if you want to say it like that, in the skill of like being able to build an account to that level, the money that comes with this, so I can have the future security and growth for my income to like start building something now that I'm almost out of debt. And
Got it.
that's
Do you
the
feel
to
like
make.
you don't have security now?
I have security in the sense of like I can always get any offer I want, but I want to have it in the sense of like I want to feel more secure in my skills. Like I'm good at getting accounts from 40 to 250, but this is my first time like actually getting it to like, you know, past 500, getting
Got it.
it to which is way different.
Got it. So it sounds like a lot for you is kind of just like the actual point on the scoreboard and just proving to yourself that you can win the game at a bigger level.
Bigger level, yeah. More team, more people like saying things like, "Oh, I'm tired," or all this stuff and systems and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, for you to get to 30K, like, what's your plan to get there? What needs to happen
Well, we need to
on a
make,
week to week, day to day basis?
yeah. I haven't broken it down that much, so that's one thing that I
How are
need
you
to
gonna
make.
do it if you don't have a plan, bro?
Yeah, I've been looking at it more from like how many sets I would need and how much like we would have to generate and how many people would need to hit that goal.
Well, it's not a bad plan, right? Like, it
Yeah.
sounds like you've thought about it enough. What needs to happen on a week basis? And let's say like end of day Friday comes and you're not at your weekly target. What are you gonna do?
Well, what I've been doing is checking like checking if the calls are good first. Because like if we're not hitting our targets, it's probably because people aren't making enough sets or they're not showing up. And that's usually because they're not having enough value in the call. You know, how you mentioned value, the cost of value, cost of the call versus the value, perception of value.
Sure.
So like making sure that's built up. So that's the first thing I'm checking now. And then for show up and then for sets, it's more of like the standards and then making sure that like they actually know that hey, if you don't actually do this stuff, regardless if you work weekend or not, you're just not gonna make your money and like no one's like gonna get better kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh,
What do you think?
yeah, but dude, what I'm asking is like your team, right? Your work week is over in your mind, but the team is not at their target, which means you're not going to hit your individual goals. You hanging it up? You done for the week?
No,
Why?
because the goal's not hit.
Okay. So you're willing to do what it takes and work on the weekends if that's what's required to hit your personal goals.
100%. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Have you had that conversation with the guys on your team that are not willing to work on the weekends?
I have. Yeah.
And what do they say?
So they said
Their
that.
free time is more important than hitting their goals?
Yeah. So I
Huh.
framed it like that based on our conversation we had last weekend. They said, yeah, I do want to, but for example, the veterans who have a lot of inbound, they were like, well, honestly, dude, like on Sundays, we have a huge like amount of people not showing up. So like I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's even worth actually working on a Sunday, even if I
Yeah,
know.
then is the solution them working on a Sunday? It sounds like Sunday isn't yielding the fruit that you guys want. It sounds like the problem that you should be solving is how do we get more people to show up on Sundays? What's causing the show rate on Sundays to be down?
That's part of it. Yeah, that's part of
Yeah.
it.
So I would get that tie down. Okay, if I go to bat and I figure out how to get more people to show up on Sundays, will you give me more availability?
Okay.
And will you let me do my best to fix the Sunday show rate over the next 4 weeks, but that also requires your commitment over the next 4 weeks. Right?
Yeah.
So there's that. And then, dude, I would go to your owner, your manager, whoever you're reporting to, and I'd be like, look, dude, like we have 4 weeks to fix the Sunday show rate. Here's what the data's telling us. I have fucking 16 guys on the clock on Sunday. We didn't even crack 30 sets the past 4 Sundays on average. It doesn't make sense for us to have 16 guys on the clock and a full triage calendar on a Sunday if the show rate keeps shitting the bed and we keep getting the same set volume. So here's my plan to improve the show rate over the next 30 days. But we really only have 30 days for me to get buy-in from my team to work on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like your team is willing to work on the Sundays. They're not seeing the value in doing it because of the lack of show rate.
Yeah, some people are like ironically the people who work more and don't really even question any. I'm not saying they can't question, okay? But I'm just saying like people who just don't even bring it up, they're like, oh yeah, I'm back to back and I'm fine. But for some reason, people who seem to always have an issue tend to have more of a show rate problem. I don't know if that's just coincidence, but like that is something I've noticed as well.
Have you QC'd? Dude, remember when your triage show rate would be down at Grow Channels?
Yeah,
What would I do?
you see it.
I would see if you were fucking confirming the calls, and at the time of the Zoom call, were you double dialing them and texting them and enrolling them in the no-show sequence and actually putting effort in? And typically, what was the case when your show rate was down?
Something was missing.
You usually weren't fucking doing that. And I'd be like, Brett, why the fuck am I asking the company to spend thousands of dollars a week to put triages on your calendar if you can't even double dial them if they're not in the Zoom room? And he'd be like, well, they're not serious if they don't show up. And I'd be like, I don't give a fuck what you think. Call the goddamn leads. Right? That would be the conversation that we would have together.
Yep.
So I would QC your guys that have a shitty show rate. Do you have a no-show SOP? When someone is not in the triage, in the Zoom room for the triage that's on the calendar, what is the SOP?
Double call, double dial, text them.
Okay. If we went in and we looked at the bottom 5 guys in terms of show rate on Sunday, do you think they're doing that 100% perfectly on every Sunday?
I'd say probably not. I haven't checked everybody, but I'd say probably not.
That's what you should do.
Okay.
Because you might be able to just fix the problem for them. And then I'd also, dude, like I just look in the day. Like for me personally, right? I'm at a season in my life at least where like me making 10 grand more per month right now is not worth me putting an extra 20 hours of work in per week. I want to golf on Thursdays. I want to fucking sleep in on Saturdays. I don't want to look at my computer on Sundays. That's me personally, and that's my personal goal right now, right? You might have guys like that on your team that are in that season of life, and I'm not saying keep them around and they're the right fit for this season of the business life, but you need to just figure out where that misalignment is. And then I would also write, like, moving forward, dude, make sure that you're marketing the role as weekends are required, at least a couple. Like, I would have a standard. Does everybody have to work every single weekend? If that's the standard, I'd fucking push back on that because your team is going to burn out and, like, you're not going to, it's not a sustainable model. But is the standard that you do have to put in 2 weekend days per month? That's a much more reasonable standard, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, we don't have it. Yeah.
It's okay for the company to be in that season where we want people who grind, but make sure the people are in that same season and make sure that when you're marketing and recruiting for the role and building the team and adding people to it, that expectation is set before you even have the first interview with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I wasn't before because the owner wanted to move so fast that like the people had in there already. I had to like tell them after they got hired. But now, yes, I started to say that and things have been changing more. But yeah, we don't force anyone to do it. We just let them know, hey, this is the business where it stands. Like it is gonna help if there is work to be done on the weekends.
Do they have
And
a base pay?
yeah,
How much is it?
uh, it's different depending on like the ramp up, but for the most part, 2K.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, dude, I think there's a few different angles. One, see if the fucking Sundays are even actually worth it and get clear on the data. Two, make sure that it's getting related back to their income goals. Three, if you have guys that are taking triages like the vets and their show rate sucks on the weekends, but it's perfect during the week or whatever, then they're probably just putting less effort in on the weekends and it's intentional. And you need to QC that and call that out. And then the last thing, I think you're doing the right thing with setting the expectations, dude. It sounds like you're doing the right things overall. And then like my fifth angle would be like, dude, like if the veterans don't want to take triages on the weekend, give the newbies an opportunity to have weekend triages. Get them in rotation for the weekend and give them an opportunity to earn their spot on the triage team. Because they're willing to step up and go above and beyond and give the company what the company needs right now.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I just taking notes. Just one
Does
last
that help?
question. What?
Does
Yes, it
that
helps a
help?
lot.
All right.
Helps a ton, yeah. Well, one last thing I had is how do you help closers and setters be more candid with like their deals in terms of this happened here, deal let's say they didn't put in the CRM like what's the next step? It wasn't on the calendar or they didn't follow up. It's been 4 days. Things like that. How do you help them be comfortable and not see it as like they're calling out in the negative way? Like how do you help foster them like, hey, it's okay to point things out and you're helping each other actually.
Um, I mean, I think a few ways. Like one, selfishly, like, dude, like, are you gonna hit your own personal income goals if the people that you depend on in the company are not doing their job properly? That's the first thing. And dude, me, you, and Anthony, and fucking all of the people at GC would always have that conversation. Hey guys, if the closers fuck up your deals, are you guys gonna hit your own personal income goals? What was the answer?
Nope.
Cool. So what's more important? Having an uncomfortable conversation and calling them out in terms of them getting better at their job so you can hit your income goals, or are you not hitting your goals? That's ultimately the decision you're making. You're either saying my goals are not worth me having an uncomfortable conversation, or my goals are worth me having that uncomfortable conversation. It's that simple. That's angle one. Angle two is like, also, do you think the closers are consciously trying to fuck you guys over?
No.
No, of course not. They probably don't even know what they're doing. So they might just need help. And if you're not willing to help them, you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You got anything else?
Nah, that was a big thing. Thank you,
Cool.
sir.
All right, bro. What else we got? Ben, I know you have something, bro. Don't sit here and smile.
Uh,
I know you got something, dude.
no, I was rattling my brain. It seems to have. I can't believe it's been a week since we were last on this call. I feel like I've jumped on every coaching call possible within the last week and gone through as much training as possible and implemented as much as I can and come a hell of a long way. And now I almost don't want to overdo it.
Yeah. Sometimes too much information is too much, dude.
That's it. I feel like I'm in a good spot right now where I've got the info that I need and the feedback that I need, other than potentially doing call reviews and continue doing mock calls. But I don't feel like this is the appropriate call to be doing that, right? I just wanted to jump on because it's 2 a.m. and it's better than watching Netflix.
Do you have a certain like situation that you want to role play? Because we could definitely do that.
No, Michael Stubbs already put me through the wars a couple of days ago. I'm wounded from
Yeah. Cool.
it.
Do you need
Um,
anything, Jimmy?
I just came to be a fly on the wall, to be honest, man. I had a no-show
Sweet.
right now and just wanted to see what else I could catch on to the information-wise.
Cool beans. Cool beans.
I got one
Michael,
for you.
let's hit it.
So it kind of stems from what Brett was saying. So let's say you do go in to start managing a team and you need to shift the company culture to be accountable, right? And rising tide lifts all ships kind of mentality. So how would you say about going, what would you do? I guess what would be the steps you would take to start shifting company culture if it was out of alignment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think first thing, like, dude, like I want to start building a relationship with every individual.
Right.
Like that's the first thing that you have to do. Connect with every single individual, start building a relationship, um, gain their trust very early on, right? And then ultimately I want to start making it about them and what they want. That's the first thing. I need to understand everybody's personal vision and goals and why that's important to them. Once I've kind of built that trust and understood their personal vision and their personal goals, then the goal would be to get the team behind the entire company vision and help them see how their personal vision is in alignment with the company vision. Once you have those two things, dude, getting people behind the values and the way that we operate, the way that we think, and the way that we have to make decisions and the plan and the date that the things that we have to do in the day to day to execute, it makes it a lot easier, to be honest. But like it just starts with the individual relationship, the individual trust, the clear results that they all want personally, and then helping them see how that's aligned with the company vision.
Gotcha. So getting buy-in.
100%. But the buy-in has to start with what they want,
Okay. So
right?
if you were taking over a team, would you start by scheduling like one-on-ones with everybody?
Every single person, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that framework is literally just going to be like introduction, little bit of a background, excitement of like why I'm here. A lot of times when a new manager comes in, people will be worried about their job security. So assuring that like short term, there's going to be no major changes. I really just want to get a lay of the land and meet everybody and connect with everybody. And over the next 2 to 4 weeks, like we're not going to make any major changes. We're just going to continue on with business as usual. So getting that assurance and letting them kind of like loosen their buttholes a little bit to where they're not fucking worried, you know?
Yeah.
And then dude, it's just like so learning about them, asking questions about them, being genuinely curious about what they want, what their frustrations are, how they feel about being at the company, what they think might need to be changed in the company. So you're kind of validating and hearing them out. And then from there, like once you have that individual vision, then you're going to get with the business owner and figure out what that goal is. Right. So where's the company now? What's the goal? What does that look like on an individual level? And is that in alignment with everyone's individual goals?
Hmm. Right on, man.
Does that help?
Yep.
Any
Appreciate that.
like clarifying questions about that?
Well, you went over specifically like what you'd cover in the one-on-ones, so that was going to be my next one. You answered that. And then I guess the only other thing would be, I know this is kind of like an owner problem, but if the company does lack like a mission that everyone kind of get on board or like direction, I guess that's just a conversation you got to have. Like, okay, let's get this developed. Would you include like, I've been on teams where, the owner will just, hey, this is our mission, or they'll do a collaborative effort with the team. Hey, if they don't have one, what should the mission be?
Yeah.
Any ideas?
I think ultimately it starts with like vision first and then mission and values.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, dude, like a really good book on this, like probably the best book on the market is Traction. By Gino Wickman. It's like the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS. If you're working with a business owner that like doesn't really have that, I'd recommend that book to them. And then kind of similar with the business owner, like I want to know, like, what do you want? What's a win here over the next 6 to 12 months? Where do you want the team to be? What are we not willing to sacrifice to get there? How do we want to think and make decisions, and what constraints do we want to operate in to get there? And I want to have that conversation with them for sure.
Yeah, if we don't have a goal and we can't measure success.
Yeah, dude. Christopher Columbus got fucking hundreds of people to risk their life going across fucking Atlantic because there was a massive vision. They didn't even fucking know where they were going. Right? Like there was so much uncertainty, but it was like, we're gonna go west, we're gonna find the promised land of the West. What is that?
Are you asking me?
No, it's a hypothetical, but like I want to get the business owner to understand that, especially if they want people. Like, what are we asking as managers? What are we asking sales reps to do?
Make money, support the business.
Well, we're asking them to fucking grind with no guarantee, and yes, a lot of upside, but also a lot of trust of like just follow this process and you're gonna get the result.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and you're also only making a fucking $2,000 base, and you could barely pay your rent on a 2K base. So like, you have to make sales if you're gonna fucking pay your goddamn live. Like getting someone committed to willing to do that has to be for a bigger vision than just themselves, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's important to help a business owner understand that if they don't.
Right.
I have to do a lot of coaching with business owners that I work with. And it's not like the ideal thing. But like some of these business owners just need a little bit of help because like they are a zone of genius in their area, and like the people game might not be their zone of genius. It might not be their core competency.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Are you taking over a team right now?
No, I will eventually though.
Just prepping for it?
Yeah.
Cool. What's up, Brett?
Yeah, just something that came in mind was the owner where I work at. By the way, great questions, Michael. He's asking me my opinion about a closer manager because we're looking for a closer manager. From a setter manager or setting perspective, like what are things that you want to have in a closer manager that would help you on the setting side and that would help the company as well?
Good question. Um, First thing is they have to be committed to results. Sales is about results. So like if I find a closer manager that's like burying their head in process or tech or some bullshit that doesn't matter, I usually don't trust them. They have to understand that like the results are the number one thing in their job. Second thing is like, I don't want to just understand like how do they operate the team? Right? Like, are they data driven? Do they look at numbers? Do they do the boring things every day with their team when it comes to call reviews and role plays and pipeline audits? Or do they do like hypothetical fucking presentations on their sales meetings? Or are we actually getting into the nitty-gritty shit? Another thing that I really like in a closer manager, specifically as a setter manager, is like, do they have to be empathetic for the setters? And they have to give a fuck about the setters. If a closer manager thinks like a setter is like a second grade citizen at the company, me and them are not going to get along.
Same.
Usually if they have those qualities, like results driven, data driven, willing to do the boring work and understand what the boring work is, and they're not chasing shiny objects. And then the last thing is like empathy for the setting team. And then also, like, are they a leader of men? Like, or are they a leader of people? I shouldn't say men. Sorry, Hafsa. There's women as well in high ticket closing. Are they a leader that people are going to get behind? Like, if I was on this guy's team, would I fucking trust him? Usually, if they have those qualities, bro, they're going to be good enough.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. And one thing that has been happening a lot, because we've talked to some really heavy hitters, but I don't know that we necessarily need someone that heavy, you know. Um, but something that's been going on is like they'll sound really good. They obviously know sales, but like how do you get a good grasp of like those things you manage to say right now?
Yeah.
And then like their skill of like sales and knowledge and like helping people. Like how do you know what's like real and what's not? And also, let's say it is real and they have a big reputation, let's say like a Sean Ray or whatever, and they want to just do training or they don't really want to manage, like, but that they would really help develop your reps. Like, how do you go about making a decision whether you hire a trainer or a manager or like someone who's both, or like kind of weigh it out per se, the options?
Mm,
Because some people who are really, really good, they're like, I need 100K. I need 50 grand. I need
a
percentage of
month?
revenue. Some people, yeah. That majority not, but a couple did. And I get it.
I
You gotta
mean, dude, so a few things. Like, my first question would be, why are we even looking to replace the current guy? What problem are we really solving with the current guy that we have?
Oh, we just don't have one. Like we just the
There's
problem is
literally
that
not anyone that the closers report to.
they report to the owner, but the owner, it's too much for him right now. Like 15 people plus marketing plus content plus everything.
Yeah.
So it's like we need someone in there. That's why they brought me a month and a half ago, is because it was way too much. Like they needed someone to. Harmozy audited their business, and he was just like, "Yeah, you just need help. Like everything's good. You're doing too much."
Yeah. I think 15 people closing team is probably going to require like an actual full-time like director plus a team lead, if not two team leads. That would probably be my guess.
Hmm.
As far as how am I vetting this person? I mean, dude, I definitely don't think that just like an external individual trainer who comes in and maybe does like 2 30-minute sessions or like a car review a week with the team is probably what you need at the level that you guys are at. That's a big ass team. You know? Vetting the person, I like asking hypotheticals. We're at 500K a month now. We want to get to $1 million a month. What's the first thing that you're going to do to start making that plan to $1 million a month? And is that plan results focused, data driven, logical, and makes sense? Right? I'd ask another hypothetical. You have a rep that was a top performer for 6 months, and now they've had their second worst month in a row, 2 really bad months in a row where they hit 50% of their goal. What kind of conversations are you having with that person? What are you doing to get them back on track? You have a team. It's May 20th, and your team is pacing 75% to the goal. What's your process to unpack that? And what are you doing to get the team back on track? Your guys have been complaining about lead quality and set quality for the past week. How do you react to that? What's your process to solve that problem? Or like, I would just ask them hypothetical questions of the problems that they're going to face day in and day out. And Brett, I imagine if you sat down with a pen and paper for the next 30 minutes, you could come up with 10 other hypothetical questions. based on your experience. I would just ask them. I would see how they answer.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Nick.
Yep. What else?
I was just thinking about what you said. I mean, when I'm doing interviews, I really like to ask the question of like you said, hypotheticals, or but in the past, like where was a situation where you failed and how did you handle it?
Yeah, I
And
like that
that,
too.
yeah,
Right. For a manager perspective, have you ever taken over a new team? Okay,
exactly.
cool. Last team you took over, what was the thing that you did in the first 2 weeks? Right. Have you ever been involved in a situation where two closers are fighting over a deal? Great. How do you solve that problem? Right. Like definitely the hypotheticals of if this was happening, you could also just relate it to like, has this ever happened and how did you solve it? What else? Any other questions? Kind of turned into a management workshop here.
It's good. I like it.
That's
I
okay.
love it. It's
I
great.
quite like it as well. I mean, I'm only a setter at the minute. I only started recently, but it's nice to see what goes on the flip side.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, Ben. I wasn't
Soon
a
come.
setter that long ago. So at any point, it could happen as long as you don't have to do as good as you think. Trust, I'll tell you that.
What offer are you on, Brad? What's this new management one?
This is Data Engineer Academy.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. You told me you got that one.
Yeah, this is it's my sixth one now that I've managed.
Offer hopper. No, I'm just kidding.
More like we're gonna scale this baby to 250K. Great, where's the leads? Yeah, we'll get them soon.
Oh, I
Sure.
know. I know, bro. How's Surge doing, dude?
He's actually doing, I don't know if he's doing better, but he's still like,
He's
making
hanging
money.
out. He's just vibing, dude.
Pretty
He's just
much, yeah.
happy to be here. Cool guys. Well, if nobody has any other questions, we could jump. I appreciate your guys' time. Anybody else need anything before we hop off?
So
Yeah.
you take over a closing team.
Yeah.
You schedule all the one-on-ones. And so like, I guess for a new closer that comes on the team, how often would you want to meet with them one-on-one per week? Would you do like two, at least two?
I think 2 is overkill, bro. To be honest. Now, like
Okay,
a new one that I'm ramping, it depends on how you want to ramp,
gotcha.
right? Like, I like personally a 3-day ramp. If you're sole manager of one team and it's a team where it's manageable, you want part of that ramp to be recorded material that's organized,
Yep.
plus a little bit of self-done homework that they send you, plus some live trainings that you have with them. Ideally, day 1 is going to be all company level and marketing level and offer level. Day 2 is going to be scripts and call recordings. Day 3 is going to be tech and admin. That's how I like to structure it. Day 4 in the morning, you'll do a full role play with them. If you did the day 1, day 2, day 3, I'd probably meet with them once per day and make sure that you're like answering their questions, or if you have any additional like important trainings that you want to emphasize that they went through on their own, you could do that in those live trainings. Once someone's like, and then like another angle that you could do is like, okay, well, if you're on a big hiring spree and you typically have 1, 2, or 3 people in a ramp period at a time, you can have like a couple extra calls per week just for people that are still in their first 30 days. People that are past that 30 days, like, dude, one-on-one per week for 30 minutes. And the one-on-one is a personal check-in, make sure they're feeling okay, make sure everything's okay. And then I simply run it like results, pipeline, activity.
Results is what did you project for the month? What's your goal? Where are you at? What are you on pace for? What percent are you on pace to hit? If you're off pace, where's your pipeline? What deals are you working? Is it reasonable with the pipeline that you have that you're still going to hit your goals? If you don't have a pipeline that's reasonably going to get you back on pace to your goals, then dude, I'm like, pull up your fucking calendar and show me what you've been doing with your time because something's wrong here.
Yep.
You know, and that's typically how the one-on-ones go. And then from that process of like results, pipeline, activity, we'll figure out where the gap is, and then we do the training on it.
Right on.
But yeah, on the ramp side, it's a little bit different. But I think 2 one-on-ones a week is fucking overkill, bro. I really do.
So like once a week after the ramp.
Once a week after the ramp, you know, do the 3-day, 4-day ramp, and then get them on the calls immediately. And then while they're in the ramp, right? Like I want to see, you know, a close within 10 calls taken, 3 closes within 20 calls taken, and then ideally 5 or 6 calls within 30 calls taken. If they're off pace for that, then I'm poking into the deals in the pipeline and making sure that they actually have calls that are going to close. If they're not hitting those results and they have the pipeline and they just need a little bit of help getting those pipeline deals over the line, then we'll help them, right? They need coaching. If they don't have the results and then they also don't have the pipeline, it's usually going to be like, dude, we've given you fucking a lot of calls. You don't even have fucking opportunities spinning. It's usually going to be like a problem.
Yeah.
Where they need to go.
Right on, man.
Cool. All right, guys. I appreciate your guys' time. Thanks for jumping on. Peace. I'll see y'all next week.
Later, dude.
See ya.